What's good with the YouTube of Convict's Perspective? It's your boy, Big Flacco, sliding through, smashing and dashing, as always, with a little bit of energy, man. What's good with the YouTube? So today, man, we got an interesting article that Ro's going to be touching base on. I don't know what it's about, man, but I'm just tapping in. Today's my birthday, man, so trying to have a productive, positive day. Stay blessed, everyone, and I'm new to whatever Ro's about to discuss. I'm gonna have to just go off it and wing it right now.
First of all, happy birthday to my homeboy Flacco, man. Appreciate you, my man. Today, you know, we're always dealing with all the episodes and things that are going on up north with the big homies, with the little homies, with all the homies. They did a big one down south, man, and it's going to affect the little homies and the big homies down there. But here we go, man. This is from December 9th, mercurynews.com. The title is Joint Investigation in the San Bernardino Street Gang Nets 180 arrests, firearms, and drugs. The caption, San Diego Police Chief David Green on the right announces 180 arrests made and 111 firearms seized during a multi-agency operation targeting the West Side Verdugo criminal street gang during a press conference at the San Bernardino Police Station. A lot. A year-long investigation into a San Bernardino street gang's criminal activity has netted 180 arrests, shuttered 30 illegal gambling operations, and resulted in the seizure of more than 100 assault weapons and handguns, authorities announced on Thursday. San Bernardino police last year began investigating illegal firearm sales involving West Side Verdugo, a Latino street gang rooted in the city for over 70 years. But early in the investigation, police realized they were dealing with something much bigger than just illicit gun sales, Police Chief David Green said during a news conference Thursday, where dozens of assault weapons and handguns seized by police during the investigation were spread across a table at his press conference. Also on display was a large electronic gambling machine. As they started doing more analysis on these cases, they were recognizing it was a little more coordinated and a little more significant than what they initially realized. And that's when they started pursuing it as more of a conspiracy type of investigation, Green said. The investigation and subsequent arrest extended into Orange and Los Angeles counties. In June, the investigation ramped up when the San Bernardino Police Department asked the state's attorneys general's Special Operation Unit to join in. The Santa Ana Police Department, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, as well as the California Highway Patrol also assisted in the investigation, which culminated Wednesday when officers fanned out across San Bernardino County, serving 34 search warrants, arresting 31 people, and seizing 111 firearms at multiple locations. These are some elite firearms as well. I'm looking at them. They didn't have no junk. During the course of the investigation, coined Operation West Side Jenga, police seized 92 handguns, 19 assault weapons, more than $295,000 in cash, and hundreds of pounds of methamphetamine, marijuana, heroin, and fentanyl. Several potential shootings and armed robberies were thwarted, and evidence collected by investigators during the investigation assisted in the closure of 2 open homicide cases. Additionally, investigators infiltrated and shut down 30 illegal gambling operations and seized more than 100 high-end gambling machines. Keep in mind, side note, those things aren't cheap. The facilities were linked to 5 homicides, 4 attempted murders, and other crimes in 2021, authorities said. The gambling operation, which housed high-end gambling machines, most of them acquired on the black market and imported from China, were bringing in tens of thousands of dollars a week and were operated out of private residences, warehouses, and closed businesses. Green said the gambling facilities were a joint enterprise between the West Side Verdugo and the Mexican mafia, the patriarchal prison gang that receives a share of profits from drug sales and other illicit businesses carried out by West Side Verdugo and other Latino street gangs in the form of taxes. Some of that revenue was reinvested into the gambling operations. It has a hierarchy. It has its own business model. It's an illicit business model, but it's one that's very lucrative nonetheless, Green said. California Attorney General Rob Bonta said the people of San Bernardino can go to bed tonight knowing their community is safer. We're putting serious criminals behind bars, Bonta said, adding that he was proud of the results of the investigation, not only as Attorney General, but also as a father. Every child in California deserves to grow up in a safe neighborhood, a neighborhood that is free from violence, a neighborhood without gun violence. The federal authorities were not involved. Green said authorities opted to handle the prosecution locally without the help of the federal government, which often takes down such a large criminal enterprise using the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization Act, referred to as the RICO Act. We're not pursuing a federal prosecution in this case because we have the local district attorney's office that we feel is going to be able to give us a successful prosecutorial outcome, Green said. But these type of cases are often handled by prosecutors in the federal system under the RICO statute. San Bernardino County District Attorney Jason Anderson said that his office has so far charged 45 defendants with various felony offenses, which include a total of 57 firearm enhancements and 41 gang enhancements. Neither one of those are good. 6 of the defendants are facing third strikes, Anderson said. Our role is twofold in this particular instance. Number one is we are going to punish these individuals as severely as we possibly can. And number two, we are going to separate them from an otherwise law-abiding community for as long as we can. More criminal charges are expected, authority says. Many of these cases are still under review, and we are expecting many more charges to be filed, possibly into the hundreds. Some of them will be tried jointly, and some of them will be phased out separately.
That was actually a pretty good article, actually.
Yeah, I went through 4 or 5 of them before I found that one. I thought that one was the best one available.
Kind of interesting, man. It's the same storyline that we've been talking about, man. Like your association as far as street gangs tie you in with the big homies. Therefore, it becomes a bigger case, and they look at it from that standpoint. You know, there's 2 things that we've discussed before. Well, one thing we've discussed off top, violence and murder is going to bring a lot of scrutiny from law enforcement, period. But there's one thing that we have yet to discuss, and it's something that the reason why, like the NF never got involved in really in these activities during our time era was because the cost of doing this type of business, which would be gun sales. Off top, I was always educated by off top that we were never to engage in drug sales. I mean, not drug sales, gun sales. It brought too much heat. It brought federal ATF, DEA, all those consolidated groups with the federal government are really stay on top of that, Matt. So, you know, when there's violence in the streets through other groups, when there's other people that are pushing guns, the last thing of focus becomes the criminal aspect of drug dealing. But once you start to get involved in gun trafficking and stuff and violence, you're going to bring law enforcement right on your ass. And it's why, like a lot of times when there's stuff going on, like say up there in San Jose or the Bay Area with the NF, right? When thing becomes hot business and they're doing their things, it's why all these big time dope dealers that don't associate with the NF are able to stay out there because there's less attention because the NF has all their focus upon them. You get what I'm saying? So in this is the thing, it's the same thing. As soon as people start to their investigation, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, started because they were looking into gun trafficking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But gun trafficking becomes murders. And therefore the focus of all investigations is always violence. The dope stuff, the drug stuff, that kind of stuff, man, it kind of takes second priority when you have things like pushing guns and violence out there in the streets. It's just self-explicit. So that's why that's where I see this investigation starting, where they were looking into this group, not only in the violence they were committing out there, but that this particular group was out there running guns. Therefore, it opened the doors to everything else that they were doing. The gambling rings, the dope dealing, and all that stuff, all that came into play.
Hey, there's no doubt, man. I talked to a lot of people from down the way, you know, down south. And I've been knowing that they were really keen on these gambling things for quite some time now. This is the first time I've read about it actually going down. Not that I read everything, but man, that's extremely lucrative, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, you look at all these casinos, the legal ones. They're beautiful buildings, man. They got $50,000 chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, state of the art, everything, this and that. Them machines, man, them machines cost money. You know what I mean? I'll look it up later and figure out exactly what one of those machines run for, but I know they're not cheap. My boy got one of the old fashioned ones just for personal use to play with in his little, game room. And it ran him like $1,500. And we're talking about the ones with just one line, crank only, you know what I mean? A nicer one, don't get me wrong, but the ones that were phased out 20 years ago, essentially. That's a huge, huge business generator right there. I'm surprised we haven't heard more about those, but they were killing it, bro. I mean, there's going to be a lot more coming.
There was a few of them that let me see, it was probably about 10, 12 years ago. You had internet cafes. You had them right there on like, I remember they had them in Antioch, they had them in Oakland, they had them Bethel Island, they had them in San Jose. And what they were like kind of like slot machines. And when you would go to these places, it'd be a bunch of tweakers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Scratchers and these machines go hand in hand with the tweakers. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And they shut that shit down too, man. So there's a lot of money. And I mean, I talked to a couple of people that were owners of them. I was supposed to actually work as security for one in Stockton that was he was part of some MC club, and they wanted me to be security there. You know what I'm saying? So these are businesses that have been around through certain groups, but it's because of the attention. Like when they did the internet cafes, what it started happening is the local government started shutting them down. They let them run for about a year, 9 months, and then they would shut them down. So now I guess they'd open the eyes to other particular groups, you know what I mean? Be they MC clubs, street gangs, organizations to get involved in that same business. Okay, and let's take this gambling, you know what I'm saying, to people's houses. Even back then, man, when I was doing my thing, I remember a couple of times I had to go pick up the homeboy Carlos Roman one time, man, and it was a straight gambling house with nothing but Asians, homeboys, and all kinds of shit. I'm like, fuck, I didn't even know these places existed, man. But they're out there, man, and it's lucrative because one of the things that people passion after that just normal citizens that are out there, lower tier criminals out there, you know what I'm saying? Females, gambling, and drugs, alcohol, all those things are things that someone has to cater to. So if you can tap into those sources, man, you're going to make all that money. And see, the thing is with these little gambling rings and all that, if they weren't involved in these other illicit activities within a particular group, it wouldn't have brought the attention on these things. Is what I'm trying to get at. When you bring in violence and everything that you're doing, it's going to bring attention on you, period. That's why in a lot of these communities, you'll hear every couple of months when the crime rates are low, is when you start to hear about gambling rings and massage parlors getting busted. But when there's a high elevated crime activity of all the other people, is when they're not focused on those issues. But as soon as you can tie those in together, man, I've been hearing that they've been running those gambling shacks for a minute out there. We've had people talk about it in the comments. But this is the first time that I've ever heard of any particular, prison organization or gang that's tied into a prison organization be busted for gambling. This is the first time I've heard of that, man.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I just read that there was 30 different sites, bro. I mean, dude, even if you're only clearing $1,000 a week, bro, that's 30 grand in your pocket, And I'm sure the numbers are way more than that, because the first time I ever seen one of those was actually up in like the Yuba City area. I went into a liquor store, bro, and I was talking to this dude. I'm like, "What's up with you?" I hadn't seen him in a minute, and he's like, "Man, I'm about to go to the gambling." He called it the gambling shack.
Gambling shack.
Yeah. And I'm like, "Where are you going, Calusa? One of the casinos out there?" He's like, "Nah, it's just a little a business." So I go check it out like a week later, man. I happened to be in the area where he said it was. And what it was a storefront that had like cell phone accessories for sale, just cases, chargers, car chargers, stuff like that. But man, you go in there and you tell them that you're there to play. You go in through the door, like which would be for the management or something. It opened up into another, 50 by 50 room. And what it was CPUs, not laptops, but CPUs. And you would just right on the laptop, bro. You'd win. You know what I mean? Somebody would come by and look at your screen and they just cash you out. It was a trip, bro. I was like, damn. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's the same thing that they had. They had actually those places were like places you could go into.
Yeah.
I mean, you give them money, they give you a ticket, and what you do is you type in your information, then you play. And then once they shut that down, I guess they decided, okay, if you're going to shut, I think that gave people a prime opportunity because those machines, I mean, all they're doing is running software, bro.
Yeah.
They're downloading the software and they're putting it into all those computers, and they're going based upon the program that they're running. And the house always wins.
Yeah.
Yes, you're going to have people that are going to get cashed out $500, $1,000 every once in a while. But man, I've been to those places, man. There's a lot of times you're not winning, man.
Yeah.
It's just it's a faster way. If you don't have the means to a casino close by, it's the faster means to get to some place where you want to gamble. And a lot of the people that were attending those places, I'm gonna keep it 100. They were all tweakers, straight up. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
the same
me too.
time like that. You know what I mean? That's all you're gonna see in there. Either they're scratchers or they're at the casino trying to win, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for some reason, man, that particular drug and gambling go hand in hand a lot of times, man. I don't quite understand the connection, but it's facts, bro. You know, and I know where there's a bunch of them now, and they're all in you know, lower income areas. You know what I mean? I don't know, because it draws less attention. Obviously, there's more, commercial type buildings in those type of areas. You know, because I know they're making enough money where, let's say, this particular place gets hot, they have to leave, all their computers get took, all that kind of stuff, whatever money's on hand. They're making enough money to just go rent another place, buy all new computers the next day. So there's money in this shit, man. And I'm surprised it hasn't been addressed more in the media.
Well, back to this case, man. I have a thing that kind of stood out, man. Was you have gambling, right, and you have automatic weapons, but you have a state charge.
It didn't say they were necessarily automatic. See, the tricky thing about California is they'll call anything that has a magazine that's over handgun size an assault weapon.
Yes.
You know, they do that for publicity and to try to make the Second Amendment look bad out there. You know what I mean? That's California's rough like that, bro. So I mean, they're probably ghost guns, the majority of them. Let's not get it twisted. There's something some guy made, you know what I mean, put it together from parts, and they got houses where they do that all day. They're just putting together ghost guns, you know what I'm saying? But would they necessarily be assault weapons? No. They're regular rifles that most people could buy in any state except California. You know what I mean? And they just do that for publicity to add to the, oh, look what we took off the streets type of thing. I don't buy it. I study that stuff. It's bad. You know what I mean? Because I look at them, they're all nice, brand new. They're all they are is AR-15s and variants on that platform. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you mix guns and drugs and 5 murders and 4 attempted murders, it's a recipe for failure.
So they don't mention no names in this indictment, though. That's the kind of thing. I wonder how. I wonder how they're trying to. See, that's the thing nowadays, man. If you're from, say, you're from up north, Northern California, and you're from a hood, you're naturally going to be tied into the NF, any illicit activities you do, no matter what, even if you're tied in or not. So you can't even operate in freelance as a gang out there without having some type of connection, because the way the system works, and with all these professional law enforcement officers who have investigated the NF for so long, vice versa with the MA, they already know that if you're out there producing, you're going to have to be contributing. You're going to have to be in line with somebody. So the same thing could be said for those that are down south. You know what I'm saying? No matter what you're doing, you can't claim to be freelancing, because regardless if you are freelancing, if this is just a hood thing and you're not connected to no big homie or not, the Justice Department is still going to tie it in that you're connected to an organization, no matter what, even if you're not. Just by being a hood, a Sureño hood or Norteño hood or whatever it might not be, whether you're tied into someone or not, even if it's just a slow interaction of just kicking in every month, they're still going to trying to get you as a criminal enterprise. You know, you can get done on a RICO Act, like they said, which is criminal organizations, which would be more along the lines of Mexican Mafia, Nuestra Familia, and those groups. They can also get you on an enterprise as well, racketeering enterprise, which means you're not labeled as one of those organizations, but you're involved in some type of criminal operations. And then you also have your state cases where they kind of get you on a RICO Act as well, state racketeering cases. So depending on the means of who is taking over the case and what they want to do is how they're going to trial you. You know what I'm saying? I guarantee you, the same time that the state was running this investigation or the local law enforcement, I guarantee you the feds were already investigating them as well.
That's what I was just going to say. It's like, just because they didn't invite the feds to participate in this particular act, don't think the feds can't pick up anything that they choose to pick up. Especially, you know, how depending on how some of these firearm cases come back, this could also be a case for the feds to pick this up to pursue something else that they discovered out of here. You know, more of a connection.
Believe it or not, sometimes the state will pick up a case if they have loose links in it. Believe it or not, the feds will let the state take the case if they know that there's loose links to the case or if there's potential issues of moral judgment, because they cannot bring that in front of the U.S. prosecutor, because the U.S. prosecutors are a little bit more, let's say, less corrupt. You get what I'm saying? I've heard that. I've known that, to where they say, okay, they're going to file this as a state case, because if it goes to federal cases, there's a whole bunch of egg yolks that may be busted and exposed. So anytime they have any type of crimes, that's where they pick and choose what they're going to pick up, what they're not. You know what I mean? It's kind of it's a trip how they operate, bro. You know what I mean? Because they could have federal agents investigating this, which they don't. You could have FBI agents involved, DEA, ATF, whatever you have, in an investigation, working all together, and at the end of the day, they still file it as a state case.
Yeah. Think about this too, man. And this is not me not taking a shot at anybody, man, because it's all the same, no matter where you're from, who you're with. 180 people arrested. There's a guarantee that quite a few of them are going to fold. There's no doubt about it.
Unless they get bail for $250, bro.
$250 bails?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with assault weapons. Yeah, I've heard about that before. It's kind of weird. But think about this though. You got 5 homicides, 4 attempted. You got this, you got that. There's gonna be some people flipping, bro. It's just mathematically,
it is what it is.
Fact.
It's just, it's a fact.
I don't know if it'll only be 1, if it'll be 30, but people are gonna flip, and there's gonna be more charges. This is what always happens. This is just the initial onslaught.
And this is why, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're trying to wake up a lot of people's eyes about, you know, where this is going. That's what people need to understand. This isn't where it was 15, 20 years ago, where as a gang member out there in the street, you catch your case, you do your time. Now everything is being tied into group things, gang enhancements, and everything like that. Therefore, it's the cost of doing business. It's the cost of being a gang member now is expected to be doing a long time. Expected doing 15, 20 years. Expect to get ran through the ringer. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the message in a lot of things that we do. When we do these little indictments, we're trying to explain to you, like, this isn't 20, 25 years ago where we get caught with a gun or something like that, or doing drug deals, to where we're just going to do our time on our own independently. Nowadays, they're tying everything in, and that's just the evolution of the judicial and the judicial process and law enforcement tactics, as they realize that we can tie these guys in as gang members and bring in more charges, more enhancements. We're going to do more damage to these groups. You know, this stuff wasn't going on 25 years ago. 25 years ago, it would just be the NF getting indicted, the MA, and it would be a whole bunch of people that were really involved in the mix. Nowadays, they're getting lower tier members, people who are just associates, females.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not the same. And so if this isn't an eye-opener for people, like, hey, man, if you want to live that life as a criminal, you want to be a real gangster, you really want to be with the shit, you want to be with the business, you want to get active. These are the results nowadays. And it's not going to get any easier. It's not going to get any better. You know, and that's just the reality of it.
What you're saying about 20, 25 years ago, man, I've said this before. As an NR member, as an NF member, any of the crimes I ever committed, they never, ever once brought up anything about my gang associations, my organization, nothing. Nowadays, that's the first thing they're going to bring up. Gang enhancement, street terrorism act, organized crime. You're going to get hit with one of those. Firearms enhancements. I never even got a firearm enhancement, dude, and I've got multiple firearm convictions. You know what I mean?
I honestly think that's why they changed some of the laws, right? Where, like, you know, possession of dope is now, like, certain dope charges is a misdemeanor nowadays, and they're citing people out. It's because there's no value of trying those. Let's let these people go out there, and let's get them selling a whole bunch of sacks and doing this and that. Let's get them on a whole bigger case. It's no longer a value for busting someone for, like, you know, having an ounce on them, because they're not going to do no time. But if you bust someone selling or trafficking or doing this or being a safe house, Now you're involving them in a whole criminal conspiracy. And that's where the charges could be more enhanced. Where the laws have changed, to help you as an independent person, they've affected you harshly if you're a gang member. And that's just the reality of today.
Yeah, man, that's a whole lot of arrests at one time. 180. The number is going to go up. New charges will be filed. The feds may still pick it up. You never know, man. But that was a massive operation. There's no doubt about it from any standpoint. I don't know.
So
I think more charges come, more people get arrested. You know, do the feds pick it up? It's hard to say, but I'll tell you what, the feds are watching very closely. They're always watching. They're always listening. There's some advice, man. We give you some advice. They always have an idea of what you're doing. They might not know exactly what, but they know what you're up to. They just do, bro. It's just the way today is, man.
Hey, Ro, those construction workers you thinking about, they're not construction workers. Those businessmen over there having a business meeting, they're not businessmen. That dude with the eBay badge or you know what I mean, or Target badge, that's not a Target employee. I'm telling you right now, man. You know what I mean? If you out there in the mix, they on you, man. So the whole lesson for today, Rojo's lesson for today is what?
Be prepared and know in your mind that they're either knowing what you're doing right now or they're that close to finding out. Is it worth it? You got to ask yourself that. And what Flacco was saying about the construction workers, one last quick story. It's not really relevant, but listen to this. They were looking for me for a while. I fled state, came back to state. I was hiding out, had a house in a rich neighborhood. This is how they get me. They send a guy to the house to knock on the door. Old man, white dude, obviously wealthy. Talking about, well, he's buying the house. Am I the owner or how could he get a hold of the owner? I'm out there talking to him. All he's doing is confirming my identity that I'm the person they wanted. I fell right into it. Little things like that, man. Somebody asking you for directions, bro. I'm not no conspiracy theory type person. I don't care now because I don't do anything. They're that close to you at all times. And they have a play. They got cards in their hand, bro, and they got some good ones. That's that. It's easy. And I knew I was on the run. I was looking at like 18 years at 85%. I knew to be careful. That dude worked me like a part-time job. You know what I mean? I told him, hey, my name's Curtis. I'm like, how you doing? Nice to meet you. No, I don't know if this house is for sale. Here's the owner's phone number. I confirmed my own identity for them people, and I've been on the run for a minute. But anyway, massive indictment down south, Verdugo, West Side. Be careful out there, man. There's a lot of years wrapped up in these small things, man. When they start saying that you're a part of this or a part of that, man, there's all kinds of enhancements for you. And somebody is going to tell. Just remember at the end of the day, man, that person next to you, he might be the one. It might be somebody you don't know. They're going to cooperate. That's that. Anyway, happy birthday to Flacco. Appreciate you guys, man. I'll be on the live later on. Have a good rest of your Friday. Much love.
Have a good one.